I get it. Everybody's excited for Drake May coming in, new weapons and all that. I think you guys are failing to realize is Jerod Mayo and Jerod Mayo and the rest of the coaches, they're all brand new. You know what I'm saying? So these guys have never had any experience. Now, you had Bill Belichick last year, right? And one of the greatest coaches ever. And he gave you, what was the record? I can't off the top of my head. So, listen, it's going to take a year or two to get this thing up and running. And I'll be honest with you, I see them at a 4-13. I see them on a 5-12 because that schedule is crazy. And it's going to be tough for these guys to get through. And
but, Nate, I would ask you this, Nate.
Make the playoffs.
I would ask you this. So, Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick, who's a better coach?
Oh, come on. Curtis, come on, man. That's Bill Belichick.
Right. And so Pete Carroll went 8-8 in his final year. And then the next year, a better coach came in and went 5-11. It's not always about the coach. It's about.
I know, but I know, but listen to me real quick. We sit there and complain about how Andy Reid couldn't do the in-play calling at the time. This is Jerod Mayo. He's never had a title. He's barely started coaching 3-4 years ago.
Right,
so
Nate. But the people coaching the offense actually have coached offense before.
And just look at a more recent example.
You mean Van Pelt? You mean Van Pelt, that who's never had a offensive coordinator position, who's been a coach for how many years, and he's never had or held an offensive coordinator position?
He has been an offensive coordinator.
Still a rookie. No, he hasn't.
Yes, he has.
What, 2 games last year with Cleveland?
He won a playoff game with Baker Mayfield calling the offensive plays when his coach wasn't there. So that's pretty impressive, beating the Steelers.
Oh, 1 game. Woo-hoo, show me consistency. Curtis, please. All I'm saying is that, they're grabbing all these guys and putting them and slapping them together, and you expect to get a 7 or 8 win record. It ain't going to happen with a rookie coach too and a rookie defensive coordinator.
Here's the thing, though, Nate. Rookie coaches don't matter. D'Amico Ryans came in, 10-11 win team with Houston, playoff team.
Right.
Mike McDaniel
What's
comes
his
in with
record
Miami.
against Bill Belichick, Mike McDaniel?
What is he, 4-0?
Right.
5-0, something like that. Mike McDaniel comes in with Miami, rookie head coach, awesome.
9 wins.
Rookie head coaches come in and have success all of the time. That's not an issue at all.
Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota,
rookie
head coach.
And I have a question. Brian Daboll, had he coached a game in the NFL before he went to the Giants?
Nope.
No.
Did they win a playoff game and go to the playoffs in his first year?
I don't know if did they win one?
Yeah, they beat the Vikings.
They beat the Vikings.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yep,
so,
they did. I don't really subscribe to that. Greece is big on, Mayo has no coaching experience. When you start to look at the NFL today,
right,
and it's different than when I played, especially with the head coaches. Nowadays in the NFL, the majority of guys that become head coaches, this is their first time being head coaches.
Right.
It's not like when I played, it was a lot of head coaches were recycled. So, you have a guy like Bill Parcells who gets the Jets job.
Schottenheimer.
Yeah, and then he gets the Dallas job. Or you brought
Vermeil
up
or any of those guys.
Marty Schottenheimer. Nowadays, whether it's a guy like Sean McVay, gets his first chance to be a head coach, Mike McDaniel, D'Amico Ryans.
Zach Taylor with the Bengals.
Zach Taylor. The list goes.
It doesn't matter.
All of these guys come with no head coaching experience. Some might come with, they maybe might have been an offensive coordinator for a couple of years where they call plays, but they're all coming in with no head coaching experience. So I never subscribed to that. I told you.
And then look at Sean Payton in Denver, Wiggy, to your point. He comes in with all the coaching experience in the world, and they stink.
Right. Well, and also, I would just say it's not as much about how long you've done something. It's how streamlined is the process. And everybody would have to agree that when it comes to a actual functioning organization, the Patriots ranked dead last year, the last several years. Last year, there hasn't been a refuting of the report that Mac and Bill didn't speak. It has been, there has been such a disaster all around. And I don't think this team is great. Nobody says they're winning a playoff game. But when you understand how awful the offense was and how much that impacts the other parts of the game, if they can get that to neutral, they're going to be a better team than last year. I don't know how you can argue that. So
I think that, I think I think they have more talent this year than they did last year. Does that mean their record will be better? No, but I think the talent and it's all the NFL. We know what it is. It's going to come down to one guy and one guy only, and that's going to be Drake May.
Right.
What does Drake May look like? We all want to see him play. That's going to be the biggest thing. After we see him play, we're going to make we're going to have our opinion on, okay, this kid has some talent and he's the future, or we're going to be like, whew, it don't look good, but I'll give it another year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the biggest thing. Does he go down the Zach Wilson route where you're like, oh, this kid stinks? Or does he have a route where, it could be a CJ Stroud route, or could it be one of those tweener rookies where you're like, all right, I'd like to see a little bit more of this guy when he gets a little bit more experience under his belt.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're going to see, if Drake May is the most important person in the organization, and we all agree that he is,
yes,
the sooner you know what he is, the better you're going to be.
Yep.
Bingo.
So if you wait a year and then he starts next year and he stinks, now you're 2 years behind.
Yeah.
At least give him an opportunity, and that's why, as we talked about in the first hour, you target Ayuk, you bring in weapons around him, you do whatever you can to build confidence, because, Wiggy, you've seen this in the NFL. Mm-hmm. There are some guys that get into the league and struggle and never overcome it because they get damaged, they get lost in their own head. Mm-hmm. This is an opportunity for you to do something that doesn't take anything but a draft pick and a little bit of money, and you have both.
And if they don't do it, I want everybody who constantly told us that Bill Belichick wasn't adding around Mac Jones in spite of Mac Jones to be quiet. Like, I don't want to hear that ever again.
Courtney's on PEDs this week. Great